Yeah. Thank you so much. So maybe we want to wait 2 more minutes so more people can get here. And then we can start with the presentation. That is so awesome. Thank you so much. I have seen you guys work at People's Park, which is amazing. People's Park has been under attack for, I believe, 2 years now. Well, it was harder like 2 years ago. Like we were doing protests, not protests, but just standing with the residents at People's Park. We used to get there at 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, you know, and we used to have a lot of cops trying to move all the residents and their properties. It was just like, it's extremely ridiculous. Like nobody's using the park. And why would you want to remove the residents from there? You know, like students came, you know, around and they were helping us, you know, like start the cars, but there is way too many cops for us, way too many. Yeah. Thank you so much, Omar, for joining us. So nice to see you guys here. Like I mentioned before, the power of us together is what is gonna change everything for our young generation. Like we are living these crazy times and we wanna make sure to leave a better place for our kids, our grandkids, and everybody else kids around. Like it's too much struggle that we are suffering right now. So definitely, with you guys being here, would you guys totally make a huge change? You guys show that you guys really want to be part of something bigger. And that's really, really powerful. Like I can totally be, you know, laying down watching TV, but I'm not because I have to be here. I need to be here in order to make a change because my kids are brown, my kids are Black. So I had to make a better living for them. So thank you so much. Oh, thank you, Rocky.
Thank you.
I'm trying my best to do something on every way that I can. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Welcome, Chloe, Michaela. Thank you so much for being here. Cassie, I don't know if that's Cassie, our Cassie, but if that's our Cassie, thank you so much for joining us today. And okay, so, hey, Monica, nice seeing you smiling. So nice. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so I guess we're gonna start our presentation. Like you guys, some of you guys know me, my name is Susana Soto, and I'm an organizer with DXC, the Fight for Animal Rights. But like I mentioned before, we had the initiative and the thinking that we need to collaborate with more organizations that are fighting out there. Like, you know, we've been working with Calma, Renegade Feelings, It Has Del Campo, you know, like all these organizations, we need to come together. And today we had the honor to have Port Magazine that has been working really hard to help our houseless community out there that is fighting against this oppression from the system. And the lead organizer, I believe, is Tiny. So I really, I just start following you guys and I'm amazed with every single day work that you guys are doing. Like you guys are not stopping, which is amazing. I think that everybody, we should be working this hard every single day, not only the weekends, not only one day a week, but every single day. So thank you so much again for joining us. And I'm gonna pass you guys now to Port Magazine.
We didn't cross the border crossed us. We didn't cross the border crossed us. Muteado silencio presente, me alegro. Mis palabras son mis balas, mi lápiz es mi arma. Muteado silencio, our words are bullets. Our pen is our gun.
No nonprofit organizer can speak for the Pope. No college professor can speak for the Pope. I can speak for the Pope because I'm on the Pope. Count my head, I'm on the broke on this block. You see me because I own less than you. You dispute these slums, my frustration, mine, this thirst, mine, starvation, mine, these wants, mine, these tears, mine. Displacement fears mine. They're with me all the time. No president is mine, and neither is his government. They strip and present the class hate I resent. I don't count the institutions of power. I don't count to a racist coward. Picture me not once worshiping their flag, as long as they continue to deny its slag. No news reporter can speak for the Pope. No social worker can speak for the Pope. I can speak for the Pope because I'm on the Pope. Cut my hair, I'm on the broke on this block. You see me, D. Allen, DP Soapland, California.
How you doing, everybody? Thank you for being this meeting. My name is Israel, and I'm from the homeless. So a little bit ago, when I be a part of family community, I was for Prensa POBRE, and now a president of this beautiful family, and I'm here to help in every way I can.
Hello everyone, I'm Tiburcio Garcia. I am part of Homefulness. I'm a resident here. I'm a student in Deecolonize Academy and a author and a publisher in this newspaper here, Deecolonize. We are here just to help launch things, you know. Thank you.
I am that poverty scholar, that houseless mama, that houseless daughter. I'm a poverty scholar. All those people you don't want to see, never want to be, look away from me. What you gonna do, arrest me? We're in your city. Yeah, I'm a poverty scholar, and I rock my jailhouse attire, not because orange is the new black. Don't believe any of that Hollywood crap. It's because me and my poor mama did jail time for the poverty crime of being unhoused in this occupied indigenous holler. I'm a poverty scholar, the melanin-challenged daughter of a strong Afro-Boricua mama for without whom there would be no me, a mama soltera and a welfare queen.
Orale, and that was just a few of our Poor Magazine familia. And for all those folks who are new to Poor Magazine and to our movement and the activism, the love, Poor Magazine is a poor people-led, indigenous people-led media arts organization. And basically we're tias, we're abuelitas, we're mamas, formerly incarcerated, houseless folks, migrante people, black, brown, yellow, and everything between. And this is Poor Magazine.
Homefulness is more than just the land that this building that we're in is sitting on. Homefulness also happens to be a community garden, which we will get back up pretty soon. It is also where we have our radio station, our free lending library, 4 new townhouses. It is also where we launch off all our many projects, including the Poe Magazine website and the Deecolonize newspaper, which Tiburcio mentioned earlier. And it is also home to 5 chickens and 2 goats. So believe it or not, even though we are an anti-poverty news service, we also care about animal rights.
Yes.
It's true, actually. Anthropology, ethnography, psychology, the study about us, without us, our spirits, our cultures, our traditions through your lens, deconstructing our struggle while our communities are dismantled and left in rubble, acquired with academic privilege, linguistic domination gifts, long ago parsed out to the sordid and separated who believed in the cult of independence, the myth of inclusion, and American school systems. How are you gonna fly to your, how are you gonna do these research projects in Africa, Oakland, and Bangladesh, but not so much as slice off a piece of your privilege or academic privilege? Fly back with your 21st century thesis and a good grade on your final test. So I got a new plan, a new form of brothership, a sistership, a mothership. It's a new kind of fellowship. It's called poverty scholarship. So, as you can tell, we're all poets and cultural workers. We are doing this Zoom call right now from the sacred land that us landless, houseless people call Homefulness. That my brother Dee and Mutialo spent and talked a little bit about. But one of the crucial parts to take away today is Homefulness is a homeless people's solution to homelessness. Not a nonprofiteer or an academic study, not a government plan to what you do about the homeless problem, not another jail cell or philanthropy grant. Homefulness is unselling and liberating Mama Earth. And as poverty scholars who ourselves have lived through these experiences of trauma, the trauma of eviction, the abuse, and the struggle of incarceration for the sole act of being without a roof, it is important for people to understand and overstand that our survival is linked with our thrival if we are listened to, if our medicine is actually heard, and if we are put in the position of being seen as experts, as rather than a problem or trash to be swept, which is more of these politrickster terms that they use, hygienic metaphors against our bodies as though we are no longer human.
We will begin today's presentation with prayer on this occupied Ohlone Lashan land that we are humbly working to liberate.
One of our sister elder warriors in our movement to unsell Mama Earth here is Sister Karina Gold, First Nations Ohlone Lashan elder. She could not be here with us today, but we will be humbly with her blessing, doing a prayer for the stolen land. If people could close their eyes. Thank you, Creator, for another day of life. Thank you, ancestors, for everything in our life. A specific shout out to the Ohlone Lashan ancestors of this land who suffered the first form of removal called colonial terror and genocide, and are still here 528 years later, resisting the myth of capitalism and land theft. Shout out to and love to and amor and rezos to all of our Black and brown and poor people who die on these streets every day because of the lies of capitalism and American KKK. Thank you to the hearts and the ancestors of all the people on this Zoom call today for bringing you here for whatever reason that we're here together. And thank you to Mama Earth, for without whom there would be no me. Tlado kamati, donat sin kotlikwe, pachamama, samin kakonawari atabiho umateo. Thank you.
What is poverty scholarship? Who are poverty scholars? We are houseless, disabled, police harassed, incarcerated, bordered peoples whose knowledge come from our experience, not a book or a study or a survey or a thesis. This is lived knowledge, knowledge of struggle. We are the experts of our own lives. We have created a book of this original theory, which we would like people on this Zoom call, teachers, social workers, caregivers, activists, and advocates, to read, listen to, and hear and inform your understanding, your moves, and your work with people like us.
So one of the things, again, is to ground everybody who was beautiful enough, and thank you to Susanna for inviting us here today to share this medicine. What we see Homefulness is, again, as a template, right? This is not just about this small part of occupied East Uchin, but it's really about how to reverse and resist the violence of capitalism, the violence of buying and selling Mama Earth as though she's a commodity. We align ourselves with landless peoples movements all across Mama Earth, Shack Dwellers Union in South Africa, the Zapatistas in Chiapas, Movimiento Sin Tierra, and the Landless Peoples Movement in Brazil, Move Africa, Long Live John Africa, to name a few. There isn't really anything exactly like us in the US, in this stolen land. And, you know, because none of us, except our sisters and brothers from Segura Land Trust, none of us are original to this land, we move very humbly and always with respect as houseless and formerly houseless and evicted people, in the recognition that we need to walk softly on Mama Earth, and that our goal is not to hoard or accumulate, and that actually to deconstruct and degentrify our minds from these lies of hoarding and land theft as a form of success. We have to manifest a different thing. So one of the things that we're working on or actually doing is trying to do land reclamation and land liberation differently. We know that our brothers and sisters who have historically taken back this stolen Mama Earth, whether it be squatting, and all power to squatters, whether it be reclaiming, are met with guns and tanks. Shouts out to Moms for Housing, to the sister warriors in La Serena, South LA, to House the Bay in Frisco, to so many more who try to take back these stolen homes and land from the bloody paper trails. And then they send the police in to kill us. So it was our intent from the beginning to do this differently as poor people. So we do many different things to make that happen. And one of them is to teach folks with race and class privilege about radical redistribution, because money is real in capitalism. And this is not some utopic hippie idea dancing in the sun. So before you can unsell, you have to buy. So let's get real about that shit too. And so this is the work, one of the many really difficult things that we do to manifest this movement as poor people who don't have a pot to piss in or a roof to call our own, as my mama D would say. And so we're trying to do this in a different way, and doing that is in and of itself a struggle because of what the settler colonial codes say when people try to build.
Mutiato, tell them about trying to build with the extremely high permit fee.
Yeah, and like my comrades were saying, all of us formerly houseless, migrant, displaced, evicted so many times. Again, we want to do for self, you know. We know that we can't rely on housing and a hut or none of those places, right? They literally keep a plantation. They train our people all the time. We know because poverty folks come and tell us these stories. We also advocate when our own tenants are being violated. But what I'm saying is that what we're trying to build, like my sister is saying, not only for homefulness, but in times when supposedly the government said there's a housing crisis, we see how they are demolishing and breaking and violent breaking encampments, not only here in San Francisco, in People's Park, in Oakland, in Sacramento. And for us, it's saying, if you're not doing anything for our poor folks, for our folks, houseless folks, then let us do it for ourselves. And as a grassroots organizations, we find out that the whole system is set up for middle-class privileged folks, for developers. There's no nothing that gives way and room for folks like Homefulness, for Moms for Housing, for houses folks who want to build tiny houses who somehow they've been tearing down tiny houses that are poverty folks who are great builders, who are building with stuff that they found and they recycle from the streets. They come in and tear their homes. And for us, it's like, again, if you're not building anything for us, let us build it for ourselves. Stop enforcing all this code. How is it that we're violating certain codes, but it's not violating the code when our brothers and sisters are sleeping on the elements, on the rain, on the cold? And again, you know, we see that the building departments, and so we're also pushing back on some of these supposedly conscious politicians in City Hall to say, yo, do create something so people make it easier for people like Homefulness, like Moms for Housing, for other folks who are trying to take some of these empty lots, take some of these empty buildings and house folks by any means necessary. Sorry.
Okay, big shout out to a friend of Poe Magazines in San Francisco, videographer Peter Menchini, for coming up with video footage of us doing our endeavors. To enact this liberation of Mama Earth, we are fighting and building, walking and redistributing all the time. Currently, we are working on a permit fee waiver legislation that is not a legislation, as Tammy calls it. It is only for projects that house very low and no income / houseless people housing who are not engaged in a live rent and are now led by low and no income houseless builders. This is in response to the harm and violence created by legislations like RAD, which has systematically eliminated public housing for good. I am one of the formerly evicted residents of Homefulness, along with Mutiato and his mama, Rosalia, Israel, and Tammy, and her son, Tiburcio, who you saw earlier. Were evicted, houseless, or housing insecure before we moved here to Homefulness.
So I think that, like Susana talked about in the beginning, many of you on this call are conscious folks. Thank you for being warriors for four-leggeds and winged ones. And as
Thank you for looking out for our animal relations.
As my brother Dee said too, we have a little mini Homefulness farm, and we look at our animal relations as teachers. They're part of the teaching faculty at PeopleSkool and Deecolonize Academy, and I mean that very seriously. If you watch any of our Instascam, you can see that we listen carefully. But I say that to say that we know that these settler colonial codes criminalize every poor person they get. From the plantation cages, like our brothers and sisters behind the razor wire fences, who are many of whom are part of our writers and our family. Shout out to Joey Villarreal, to Minister King William, to so many more, to the way that when we're outside on these not public stolen streets, they create literally laws to make it impossible for us to live, sleep, stand, or walk while houseless and arguably while Black, brown, poor, or disabled in Americland. So we've developed a lot of different radical media to address this as poor people, ourselves coming out of this situation or still in it. Our Homefulness and Poor Magazine family is huge. And one of our projects is called Roofless Radio, ROOFLESS. And we're gonna watch a couple Roofless Radio videos specifically talking about the situation we're dealing with right now, from Oakland to Frisco, occupied Huichin to Lialamu, from encampment bans to evictions in a pandemic.
We can't hear you.
You might have to push the thing on the share screen to share video to the person who, to share sound, I mean, to the person who's the host.
Rocky?
Hi, so there's this thing you can push before you share, and it says share sound.
Oh, I can't believe they're gonna make being broke and having no place to go a crime. That's just horrific. I mean, that's classism to the extreme.
You know?
That's
And
just
unanimously voted, even by.
Could you hear that? Yes.
Yeah, we were able to hear it.
One. So I'm sitting here with a powerful poverty scholar, currently houseless, one of the Poor Magazine family. Would you tell us your opinion on the ongoing attack on our houseless bodies when we're on these streets, and what you think of the, quote, encampment policy by the city of Oakland.
If there's a sort of policy going on encampment, our ancestors told the system that our land is not for sale. We must be able to live on our land. We cannot be restricted from parts of our land. Our walkabout is our walkabout, and you cannot change it. We still live on our land. And to restrict us to certain areas would dog-make the whole system of intolerable living for the humans that were originally here. And you cannot take our land to tell us that we have to have policies and we have to have certain times and limitations and policies that's going to direct us to not be able to freely move about, and our walkabout is wrong. Sitting Bull said our land is not for sale.
Oh my God. Thank you. You heard it. Unsell Mama Earth, like we doing here at Homefulness, and stop this pimping and playing. 2, 1. We call you, fam?
So and it get real rough on the streets because the concrete is not kind to anybody.
Thank you.
I mean, young, old, however that it is, because that wear and tear on you, it just winds up catching up to you. And it was one of them situations where they was coming around offering the hotel. And I said, hey, that's right up actually just my alley. It's actually just my first time being actually homeless. I'm 52 years old, and I was homeless for a good 4 or 5 years, and then I got this opportunity here, which I think that they was doing wonderful, coming us in to pick us up from the tents, and they were cleaning up just the city, and that was wonderful. And now everything just been rolling pretty smooth. And it's like the 18-month span was right on time. That wound up giving everybody time to heal some from the street, you know. And then kind of get yourself together. Everybody surrounded just their lives around that 18 months, though. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody had to sign their paperwork. 18 months. And it ain't been 8 months yet.
Thank you.
And they like, oh, we want the hotel now. And that's just all the way wrong, man, because I'm quite sure all of us signed all just in forms. They had to sign something also on their end. Yeah. And there's no way in any shape, fashion, or form in California you cannot brief no contract.
That's right.
So I mean, that.
So what people just saw was what we call from encampment bans to eviction violence. Yeah, which into Yalama, most of you should know, or if you don't know, now you know. Then in Oakland, they actually passed unanimously, the politricksters who were even the good ones, okay? So just hold that in your hearts. The so-called conscious ones passed this draconian measure called an encampment ban, which basically said that houseless folk could only basically sleep under the freeways or right by the really big roadsides, which really just means death for us because we don't have access, and access to stores, access to bus lines. I want to just be real too about the learning that you're getting from us right now. One of the lies that are told again about poor people is that, we're all lazy, crazy, dumb, and a bum, as I often say, but my knowledge don't come from the institution. Part of that is the automatic criminalizing of our bodies when we're outside, when we don't have access to a roof. But imagine if someone took the roof off of your dorm room or your apartment. Would they call you messy? Would they call you dirty? But people who are inside have what I call the privilege of privacy, versus us folks have the violence of exposure. So it's really important to understand those differences. And again, what informs what we're doing at Homefulness? What informs the dire emergency for a different way to enact change? And so we are asking for people to help get this legislation passed. It's called a permit fee waiver, and it specifically relates, just so we're clear, to properties that do not charge rent to poor people, to landless people's movements and homeless people's movements, which is not just us. You know, again, like my brother Mucciado said, there's a lot of low-income and small builders who are shut out of building. And it's very important to bring that piece up, because one of the issues is oftentimes when we try to do our own solutions, we're stopped. So we are asking people to call the city attorney's office. Moot, do you want to say a little bit about this?
Yes. Yes, we're asking for the communities to support in getting these legislations passed. This will enable other poor, houseless, landless people's movement to actually build their own self-determined solutions to poverty and homelessness, and to resist the ongoing lies profiting off of commodification of land, housing perpetrated by wealth hoarding, land stealing class. Currently, after Rebecca Kaplan's office proposed it, it has since been installed in the city attorney's office of Oakland. We're asking people to blast the city attorney office with phone calls, get these back into the city councils for a vote in February. And do we have the information where they can call?
That's on your screen.
Thank you, right there, right in front of you.
Thank you, Weston. We love you. Yeah. And so that's a little bit about some of the stuff we're doing, because Susanna asked about how people can help who are on this call. I know you're all active folks, and we appreciate you and we love you. The other crucial thing is, as Susanna brought up, you know, we are also media makers and artists and revolutionaries. And so we're also literally always out on the street, radically redistributing whatever we have with fellow poor people. When we ever get anything, it immediately goes out, because we don't make money to help ourselves. If you get me, we're not a non-profiteer. We don't use this notion of poverty as another business model, like so many, sadly, in the you know, philanthropimping industrial complex, as I call it. But there's a whole other aspect to this, and another way for folks to possibly help us. I know that a lot of you might be from Berkeley, and as Susanna brought up, both People's Park and Mosswood Park in Oakland dealt with a major blow 2 days ago. You're looking at some of the pictures that this poverty scholar took along with some other cats when we went out there.
Shame on Berkeley PD.
Right, 5 in the morning. But let's not get it twisted, family. This isn't Berkeley PD.
Oh.
This is AKK-demia. Okay, so let's not put the lens at the wrong place. We don't get down with cops at all, by the way. We never engage with the people who test arrest, incarcerate, or lead to our death. We teach people on how to never call the police, and we have a book about it, etc. And that's real as fuck, excuse my French. But the reality is, this particular police intervention, as most of these on public land, aka stolen Ohlone-Lechon territory called a park, but in this case, People's Park, really belonged to the people for decades and was the spot, historic spot of many movements over the years. Shout out to Ocean Newman and so many more who've been holding it down. Point is that they want to turn it into what I affectionately call the dorm industrial complex. And if you want to know more about that and my teaching on that, I urge you to come to PeopleSkool this weekend, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The main thing is, for any of you who might be students or might know students, we can protest all day and twice on Sundays, and we need to keep protesting. So putting your bodies in the line is very important. Don't get it twisted. It's not what I'm saying. But there's other infiltration moves. And so if there are any students on this Zoom call or people who know students or teachers, we're trying to organize from the inside to have a panel at UC Berkeley on landless people's movements. And just like we're doing in Frisco right now with that politrickster mayor, we want to flip the conversation on its head, because a lot of these institutional schools continue to learn about us without us, as my opening poem. You know, they study land takeovers and military in, you know, Palestine and you know, wherever, which is powerful and important, don't get me wrong. But then when it happens in their backyard, they look the other way. That's what I call hypocrisy. Happens every fucking day. So I'm asking for folks, if you are at all able to do such a thing, in or out of the institution, hit us up, because we have a whole model around that and a whole teaching along with other poverty scholars and indigenous scholars. And it's really important to definitely not look the other way, if you will, from this particular takeover, because if they get People's Park, they've been trying to take People's Park for over 40 years. And best believe, if that happens, it's going to be a signal about land, you know, theft that will reverberate forever. Not to mention hurt and harmed ancestors, not only of this land, but all of the ancestors who fought to keep People's Park for the people.
We're going to show the next 2 videos, including a short tour of Homefulness, a homeless people's solution to homelessness that we are sharing with the people as a template for this disease called capitalism.
I am a poverty scholar, that houseless mama, that houseless daughter. I'm a poverty scholar. All those people you don't want to see, never want to be, look away from me. What you gonna do, arrest me? We're in your city. I say I rock my jailhouse attire because me and my poor mama did jail time for the poverty crime of being unhoused in this occupied indigenous holler. Homefulness is a homeless people's solution to homelessness that me and Ma came up with when we were sleeping in our car, sleeping on the street, sleeping in cardboard motels and shelter beds. Through what we call poverty scholarship, we have built the solution that is homefulness that we're standing in right now.
Poverty scholar here at Poor Magazine, the Homefulness project, what you see right now. For the last 425 years that we as indigenous people have been dreaming a place like this. And you also are found at a community feeding, what we call breaking bread with our community, sharing medicine, sharing food.
People used to say, as I was an older teenager, young adult, you could leave your mama and be okay. And I said, that's funny. What would happen to my mama then? Oh, that doesn't matter. At least you're okay. That's the cult of independence that they teach in AmeriClan, because they want you to see aloneness as normal. We're actually all hooked into this notion, whether we know it or not, of individuation and individualism. If I'm human and you're human and you're on the street, then your problem is my problem. We need to figure out how we can together help lift you up.
Yo vine un día a la lavandería y miré que había pañales y vine a preguntar y dijeron que eran gratis, entonces por eso.
I was 3 years old, and Tiny found me and my mother in a homeless shelter called the Hamilton in San Francisco, and has helped us ever since. They actually lift you up to your highest potential and make you realize your highest potential.
Yes, we're teaching these kids revolutionary things. They're learning right now. The older kids are studying for the SATs, and all of the kids are learning revolutionary history and advocacy. They're learning legal procedures. These kids learn how to write Freedom of Information Acts and submit them. They learn how to write defenses against people being evicted from their homes.
We don't need people to be the voice of ourselves. We have our own voice. This is what the dream is, and this is what we're doing. Creating a database of poor folks, what our stories, what our liberations, what our struggles, what our victories.
Our struggles are enmeshed. And so our liberation also needs to be enmeshed. As a poor people, indigenous people-led movement, our work in Poor Magazine and Homefulness and Deecolonize Academy is fused with our lives. As we conceived of Homefulness, we had no way to actually build it, but we knew that it was the right answer. Us poor folks have our own solutions. We just need to be listened to.
This is the headquarters. This is PNN. Let me show you inside what's going on. And this is my humble abode.
I first moved here back in January of 2015, at a time when I was being evicted from my old place of residence.
When I was younger, me and my mother experienced a lot of eviction in our lives, a lot of moving around, a lot of sleazy, terrible landlords who would kick us out for little to no reason at all.
This was put together with combined labor by adult and youth scholars from Deecolonize Academy. They put in the hard work to build.
Yeah, we're standing in shelter, and yeah, you see we got the mascaras, we got masks on because we didn't have the privilege to stop building as poor and houseless people. But one of the other real things in this pandemic is that we are addressing the pandemic called poverty.
It was hard on me as a kid who never really got to experience a place that I could call home for longer than a couple of months.
Hey, this is Homefulness right here in Deep East Oakland. Again, a houseless solution to homelessness. And yeah, this is some of the building that we're doing.
So we are trying to build a shelter, because how are you going to shelter in place when you don't got a place? We're trying to build places and shelters for our fellow houseless folks right now. So you're looking at Homefulness, a homeless people's solution to homelessness.
We were able to create a solution for ourselves and for other kids and adults and families like us who are housing insecure, who never got to feel what it is to feel like being in a home.
You know, having this even been built, it's a true revolution. I want to shout out, just like, you know, my sister Tiny and all the folks in Poor Magazine, recognizing there was folks like Move 9. There's other folks in the U.S. who have been trying doing this, or poor people solution, or building our own future, or being self-determined, true self-determined.
When you're always moving around and sometimes you don't even have a place to stay, so you have to eat in the outside of a McDonald's.
And so these are going to be 3 different rooms in a kitchen for poverty folks.
And the sad part about this, capitalism has caused us to slow down on our production because of the cost.
It is extremely slow, because we ain't doing this. We aren't doing this with no philanthropy dough. We're doing this by teaching young folks with race and class privilege about radical redistribution. It's extremely powerful concept. Community reparations. meaning that if you got something, you can't walk by someone who's sleeping on the street and perpetrate what I call the violent act of looking away.
It's a lot that people take for granted, you know, coming home after a long day, coming home and laying down in a bed that's yours.
This process only happens because wealth hoarders get conscious through our teaching and redistribute.
Because people are living on the street more and more and more and more every day, and dying on the streets more and more every day.
I just want to give this big energy and all of this gratitude to Homefulness and to us for starting it, and for hopefully having other children and kids growing up just like me and being able to have houses.
Yeah, I'm that houseless mama, that houseless daughter. All those people you don't want to see, never want to be, look away from me. What you gonna do, arrest me? We're in your city.
Once more, big shout out to Peter Mankini for putting together that video, showing us doing our endeavors on the ground as an organization, as a community of poverty scholars. We only do the PeopleSkool twice a year, but we do ask folks who want to work with us to attend PeopleSkool, which happens tomorrow. And it's not too late to enroll for this weekend's seminar. So go to www.racepovertyandmediajustice.org to register.
Yeah, the degentrification decolonization seminar, as we call it, is a 2-day seminar. Any poverty scholars on the Zoom, meaning you struggled to keep a roof over your head, clothes on your back, shoes on your feet, then you only do the first day. But for folks with race and class privilege, we do ask, or formal education privilege, we do ask that you do both days. And this isn't about us teaching you. This is about you unpacking stuff that we have all got in our head because of the colonial terror called capitalism. So anyway, you can find out more about it, as my brother Dee said, at www.racepovertymediajustice.org. I do want to also say to folks that, you know, this is just a little piece of the work that we do, but one of the things we say as poor people, intellectual property is only property as poor people have. If you really like or landed some of the things that we said, please cite, you know, all of us poverty scholars, Poor Magazine, Homefulness, Tiny, D, Muteado, because opting is real too. And the reality is that this is cultural work, this is prayer work, and this is theory. And just because we only may have a 6th grade education as this poverty scholar versus AKKDemia piece of paper, it doesn't mean that our knowledge is any less valid, legitimate, or important. So I'm just lifting that up and saying that with love, because sometimes that does happen. Also, we're on all the digital streets, so you can also like us. We appreciate the likes on PoorNewsNetwork on YouTube, on Instascam, we're at Poor Magazine, on FaceCrack, at Poor Magazine. Also, we're on Twitter, at Poverty Scholar or at Poor Magazine. So any of those kinds of things also matter. We appreciate you.
And Roofless Radio, where we serve folks in houseless encampments with food and medicine every Tuesday. And right now we're doing a tent and sleeping bag drive and working on selling Mo Mama Earth across Turtle Island. But besides all that, we are poets and we are artists.
And so we want to close our presentation and maybe leave it open if anybody has questions. We want to close with us just spitting some poetry. My brother Dee, as well as my brother Muteado, Isael, Auntie Francis, Angel Heart, Audrey Candy Corn, so many more are also poets and authors on Poor Press. Poor Press is our publishing site, poorpress.net. We say that Poor Magazine is in fact Po, and we do need your dough. So if you're able to kick down a little something, something, we sell our books on a sliding scale starting at 0. If people don't have the money, we send them to you for free. But if you do got a little bit of something, kick us down, because we don't survive on any philanthropy or government dough. We literally survive on people kicking down to support us. So we're going to close with a couple poems. Moteados first, and then Dee.
And again, thank you guys, everybody, who took the time of being here with the Pobre Scholars Poor Magazine. La Fruit Bill es para que nuestra gente se quede y no se aleje. The Fruit Bill is for people to stay and not go away. See, because the new conquistadores are here. Developer, especuleros, hipsters with pocket full of greens. Can you dig? La Fruit Bill. Impossible is not to fight and struggle for our barrios that little by little are disappearing. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos. La Fruit Bill. It's more than a street and avenue. It's a big history, and each page not raise the past and the present. La Fruit Bill. La Fruit Bill. I remember the beautiful weekends I've been chopping it out with the homies, some elders. Oye, hermano, yo soy Latino. As we bathe in the sun, elder shouts out. As we break the law by sitting side by side. La Fruit Bill, la Fruit Bill. Aquí estamos y no nos vamos. See, because the conquistadores are here. Hipsters with pocket full of greens.
Aquí estamos y no nos vamos. We are here to stay. We are here to stay.
Oh.
That was Muteado Silencio, ladies and gentlemen, our very own poet laureate of Po Magazine, or he should be.
Wow.
And the poem I'm about to do comes out of my 4th book, Skeletal Black, Poems from Beneath the Poverty Line, which you could get from popress.net for $10. From pages 38 and 40 in the book, this is the last poem in the book about one of our own, the ultimate poverty scholar and supporter of all people and animals. This one's called Ecstasy, System, Activism. Her poetry gave medicine to the broken in heart and mind, revolutionaries found within her ranks sometimes. Her plays gave us reason to laugh at the misery associated with poverty in our lives, brought to heal in one act or two. A different play for each PeopleSkool kept things interesting for the privileged and underprivileged students. Always where the excitement is, teach-ins, movement strategy meetings, radio shows, street protests, film and arts festivals, confrontations with politicians, yet calm, humble, eloquent through it all. Berkeley-born, dreadlock daughter of Caroline, on-the-ground reporter, digital resistor, Afro-punk, not on the faux front. Melted into the scene with Po Magazine, welfare queen, gentle heroine, ecstasy, disseminated that revolutionary love for single mothers, revolutionary love for sex workers surviving off their physical art, revolutionary love for the punk rock scene, her secondary Bay Area family, revolutionary love for the indigenous whose land this settler lie stands upon, revolutionary love, patience, and actuality for the author of these words. A man whom few respect and none understand. Revolutionary love for the Po in all guises, levels of hardship. Revolutionary love for her biological son, for her Mexican lover and his own son, for little Cholo and Chihuahua dogs. The softest spot in her heart were for those little animals. Revolutionary love for most she encountered. Order was brought to disorder when her calm and positivity entered a room together. That poem was called Ecstasy for Laurie McElroy, 1972 to 2018. Rest in peace. from Skeletal Black.
I just want to take a second because Lori was one of my literally best friends and died because of the eviction, the abuse of eviction. Poor magazine proved that eviction was elder and child abuse in 2014. But the politrickster in office at the time met us with guns at the door, EYA, Irish Canada. So my piece is gonna go out to all the missing, murdered indigenous women. My mama is someone who was an orphan and a mixed race child, an indigenous woman who barely stayed alive. And died, passed, transitioned way too young. So this is dedicated to her and all of the warriors in the MMIW movement. Dedicated to all the missing, murdered indigenous women, unhoused, unloved, broken, forgotten, lost, torn, and in pieces, always thrown to the bottom. As a little girl, my mama went missing, looking out from a snapshot so small and dark, even the picture didn't listen. No one even knew or cared she was gone. Mama always dreaming she wasn't here, so deeply alone. An Afro-Taino mixed-race baby girl, no one wanted her. The child everyone wanted to lose. A foster child no one wanted to choose. Lost, not accidentally, always intentionally. Because then it was one less mouth to feed, one less brown body to see, one less girl child not to have to forget her broken, abused mama praying for her death. Yeah, her mama praying for her death. For all the missing, murdered indigenous sister, mama, daughters, you know what I'm saying, fellow poverty scholars. You know those mamas and daughters lost in our histories, all but forgotten. Our mamas, unhoused, unloved, bordered, violently abused, always undone. Our mamas, our tias, our grandmama, our bisabuelas, back and forth to sorrow. The women looking from the sides of life, cleaning your sheets, taking out your trash, working for nothing day and night, washing your dishes and your clothes, taking care of your babies, never her own. This prayer goes out to all the missing, murdered indigenous women, to my houseless auntie, abused and left on the side of the road, the ones we only see in our memories, missing mamas who have missing daughters who they said made bad choices, who they said don't matter. All the women you don't see until they are just a number, something to march for, just a picture on a poster. So thank you, family, for inviting us, Susanna, for your work and your beautiful heart, and for all the warriors who fight for our four-leggeds on here and winged ones, to all of our animal relations and the people who protect them. We love you and we appreciate you. And if you have any questions, otherwise we'll close out for now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh my God, those poems, ooh, so powerful. Like, wow. You make us, well, my personal opinion is like, I'm remembering what I haven't remembered last week. You know, like life gets super busy sometimes, and somehow our mind just go different ways, and somehow we put these issues on the side. But with those poems, it's like, well, it's everything back again. Especially as a brown woman, as an immigrant, it's like we live with this every second and every day. So we definitely had to do something just for the change. So thank you so much. Every single word that you guys have mentioned is very, very powerful. I really appreciate you guys' time, your presentation, your spirit, your soul for keep going. I know sometimes people get really, you know, frustrated with everything. We work so hard to make a change and it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. And sometimes we get frustrated and we kind of give up, but there is no giving up no more. we see that we can change this system, and we need to keep going no matter what.
Thank you, hon.
Thank you so much. So I don't know if you guys have any questions for people that attend the presentation. Please go ahead and ask.
And it's okay if you don't. It's a lot.
Yeah, that too. That too. I saw earlier on the chat somebody, I think Raul, he asked about the classes. If you guys are gonna have those classes in the near future. Do you guys have a day for those classes?
Well, there's two things. We have the PeopleSkool, Escuela de la Gente, which is open to everybody. And it's tomorrow, literally, but you have to register, meaning you have to go and do an application. It's not like if you say the wrong thing, you don't get in. It's not like academia application, but it's just registering. And maybe Weston, you could put the link in the chat so people see that. People may not have time tomorrow because that's pretty last minute. We also offer training in radio, Poor People's Radio. If people are interested in working on the revolutionary radio that we do here. We also do writing as healing. We're gonna have one starting on Monday, February 15th, actually at night on Zoom. So people are interested in that. And then the other thing that's coming up is, you know, when you heard my brother D talk about Poor Press and talk to you about the books, that's a book publishing project that we do for low and no income youth, adults, and elders.
Everyone here on this Zoom call has a book.
Well,
when Mama and Me Lived Outside by Tiny, it's a children's book. Chamali by Mutiaro Silencio is an art book, and it's in both English and Spanish. And my own poetry book, Skeletal Black, which I just read the poem Ecstasy from. Ecstasy was one of our own, and we miss him.
Yeah, and so the book production class, again, that's open to low and no income youth, adults, and elders, and that's gonna start in April. And we usually, again, it's pretty popular workshop. Again, the only requirement is it's for low income people, both of all ages. But so those are the upcoming classes. We do stuff all the time. We're going to be we're working on trying to liberate a second Homefulness right here at 7600 Black Arthur. And so on February 20th, we're going to have an open community visioning day. What does the neighborhood want on that land? But also be doing danza and prayer, all nations prayer, you know, and asphalt lifting. So, you know, all of our things are always open. If people just want more information in general, like to know things, they can email poormag@gmail.com, or you can follow us on social media. We're definitely, you know, we put stuff out on Instascam, FaceCrack, and Twitter.
And if you like what you just heard today, we have our books. You can find our books on PoPress.net. That's POORPRESS.net.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, once again, I think that we have every single link to you guys' accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I posted the Venmo account to anybody that wants to donate as well. And I wanna ask you a question. What is that we need? Like, if we want to volunteer to help you to build those houses, what do we need to do, or where do we need to go?
Well, the building of the houses, Muti, I'll be a co-builder on
yes. We're gonna have a community build day. Believe it or not, we had a blessing, you know, to Until Mama Earth on February, Homefulness #2, the lifting of the asphalt.
February 20th.
February 20. Tell us more about it, Tiny.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just did, but I know. I think Susanna's asking a specific question about building and helping. So there's two things. Building is not free, and I have to say that, you know, sometimes people have a little bit romanticized idea of how you can just throw up, you know, some building. The way we're doing it, again, which is kind of a nightmare, daymare, and blessing all at the same time, is we're trying to go within the settler colonial codes, right? So that the city signs off on us. So that whole legislation we talked about earlier in the presentation, one of the things people could do to help us build is help us get that permit fee waiver passed. So call the city attorney, please. Pass the permit fee waiver legislation that's in there. That's number one. Number two, helping us raise money is very real. So if folks have access to resources, please kick down. If you know folks with resources, invite them to, you know, find out more, come to PeopleSkool. That's kind of what we do with that kind of project. Because we have to pay money, you know, to get building supplies and do this by code, yeah. And then number three, in Homefulness number 2, because we're gonna make it simpler and a little bit more easily manifestable. That was one of the things we learned about this. This was like, oh my God, we took on too much. We didn't, you know, we're getting it done. But that one we will actually use people's hands to help us. And that February 20th date, if people are able to come, it is going to be socially distant outside. You know, we're still in COVID, so we require PPE. And of course, that's also up to folks if they feel safe being in public right now. So understandable if you don't. But we're going to be doing a lot of the groundwork will include the community, and so people can get their hands involved in that as well.
And there's definitely, for folks who are interested in learning how to use a jackhammer, picks, all that stuff, breaking asphalt, there will be a demonstration for that day. You know, if you're looking for that kind of action, there will be the jackhammer and all that construction tools. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, Susan, I hope that answered your question. We're a little bit pushed because we got to get ready for PeopleSkool tomorrow, so we kind of have to check out.
Right.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
No, thank you guys. We love you.
Thank you guys for inviting us.
And thank you so much for letting us know about that building in the community. I have other organizations that are working on doing something like that as well. So definitely I'm gonna be talking with them to see if we can come together and get more people and more materials to start building as well. Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. We always end with a chant. If you want to, if you want to join us.
I'm here.
POOR, scholars till we die. The revolution begins with I. POOR, scholars till we die. The revolution begins with I. All right.
Woo.
Thank you,
awesome. Thank you so much.
All right.
Love
bye.
you. Be safe.
Thank you, Weston. Bye-bye.
Bye.